Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm giving you guys a spoiler-free review of Netflix's newest movie, Army of Thieves. In this prequel to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, a mysterious woman recruits bank teller Dieter to assist in a heist of impossible-to-crack safes across Europe. Before we get into it, if you guys are new in here, make sure to subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any time I have a new video or I go live. But don't waste any more time, let's get into it. So this movie actually is really basic when it comes to the premise of it. Like I mentioned before in the synopsis, there's this bank teller named Dieter, which we did meet in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, which released earlier this year. And number one, I'm surprised this movie came out already because I thought it was going to come out like early next year and maybe a year apart from when Army of the Dead initially came out. But it came out before the end of 2021, and I'm excited to see what they do with the future of this franchise. I know they're doing an anime show, so that would be super interesting. But overall, this movie was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it's an absolutely awesome or spectacular movie. I don't think it's one of the top movies of the year, but it's a fun time. Now, the thing is, with a lot of these heist movies, a lot of them are just too serious for themselves. Like, you have to suspend your disbelief a lot, and this one really plays into that. It never takes itself too seriously, and the moments in which the movie isn't its best is when it takes itself too seriously, such as the ending. Obviously, the ending has to be emotional, all that cool stuff, and they do build a family type of bond going on throughout this movie with the entire team and a bunch of conflicts within the team, and a lot of the conflicts are just classic team tropes, and just they basically point out tropes like they're like, oh, if we do a flash forward and we see what's going to happen during the bank heist, something always goes wrong. And then they're like, oh, something won't go wrong because we're not going to see a flash forward, even though they know they're in a movie. So it's kind of interesting to see how they're contradicting themselves within the movie, and it's super fun to finally have a self-aware heist movie. Now, I don't know how to pronounce the main actor's name. His name will be on screen right now, but he's actually awesome and he's absolutely hilarious. It might just be his accent, but the way that they write his character is just hilarious, and I love the way that he interacts with the characters around him. The supporting cast overall is also phenomenal. The supporting cast, as well as kind of the love interest in this movie, is all really well done, and obviously they do fall into those basic thief movie tropes like the bank heist tropes, but it's a fun movie and it does what Army of the Dead did best. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's where this movie really succeeds. As I mentioned before, this movie is really self-aware, and that makes for such a fun time. Also, the cinematography looks exactly like Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I think that Zack Snyder was a producer on this movie, so that kind of makes sense, but overall the visuals in this movie were also great. There weren't like big spectacle moments because this movie is basically the inside of the entire team. For example, they start off with smaller heists and they go to bigger and bigger and bigger ones until they get to the big final one that we see at the end of the movie. And just the way that everything escalates, and at the same time as the entire vaults are escalating in difficulty, it turns out that there's also other stuff within the team, in the conflicts within the team, they're getting revealed as the movie goes on, and by the end it's a great movie. I think one super key thing about this movie is just how much fun it is. Aside from them being self-aware, it's just a fun movie overall. There's chase sequences and there's also emotional moments, which balances each other out really, really well. In my opinion, a movie should have a good balance of each thing. It should be serious enough, emotional enough, as well as it should have enough action. Now, this is a classic Netflix movie in which it's a fun time, but at moments, again, it does get super emotional, and I wasn't really expecting it from this movie. Army of the Dead tried to do it, but it just came off super cheesy. In this movie, it's very cheesy, but at the same time, it does indeed work at some points, especially towards the end of the movie. It is, again, cheesy, but it does work. Now, what makes this movie another really interesting type of movie all around is that it's a prequel to a movie in the same basically series as Army of the Dead, but it's completely different. You switch out zombies for a locksmith, and you basically switch out the entire supporting cast. Overall, it's a great movie for what it's done. This movie also doesn't reinvent the character of Dieter, but it does make his character interesting enough to where, as him being the main focus, he's still entertaining enough for us. For example, the way that he opens the vaults and the way that they show the inside of the vaults and all the mechanics inside. Also, there's a nice connection to a bigger overall character that I don't necessarily want to talk about in this video because it was a surprise for me in the movie, so I'm not going to tell you guys about it. But there was like a bigger connection to a bigger person, and it was just so cool to see all these things fall into place. This script isn't anything absolutely crazy, I'm going to be honest. It's just another classic heist movie, but there's small things here and there within the script itself, within these characters, and overall it's just a fun time. So my final score for Netflix's Army of Thieves, I would give this one a solid 7 out of 10. It's going to be on Netflix tomorrow, so I definitely recommend checking it out. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.